So as you probably already know, I'm Lucy. I'm with NSFM. I'm the fund navigator here. So today I'm joined by Carly Stebbin at FCM. She works with their outreach program. She's very knowledgeable about their programs. And she's going to talk to us today about the Green Municipal Fund. It's directly geared towards municipalities in Nova Scotia. And because we have a smaller group here today, you're really welcome to just ask questions throughout, put up your hand, and I will let her know that there's a question. But yeah, please, I want you to leave here confident in your knowledge about these programs because they're really great. And I would like to see more municipalities from Nova Scotia applying. So without further ado, also there is a question period at the end. So you can also put your question in the chat and we'll get to it at the end. So Carly, take it away.
Thank you, Lucy. Okay, so everyone can see my screen. I just want to let you know, I know some of us have our cameras off, so that's fine. I wasn't going to be able to see you throughout the presentation anyways, but like Lucy said, if you have questions throughout the presentation, feel free to interrupt at any moment. Pop your questions in the chat, but there will be a devoted time period at the end to answer some questions. So we'll get started. So yes, thank you for the great introduction, Lucy. My name is Carly Stebbin. I am an outreach officer for FCM's Green Municipal Fund. The objective of the session today is really to talk about funding programs that are available to municipalities anywhere in Canada, so the Green Municipal Fund. And over the course of the presentation, we'll talk a lot about, what our focus area of investments are in municipal infrastructure projects, from municipal fleet electrification to buildings to community level infrastructure. And I'm going to share some examples of ambitious cost saving projects that we funded previously, including some in Nova Scotia. We can talk a little bit about the application processes as well. But it's kind of going to be a little bit of an inspiration tour of some amazing projects that the Green Municipal Fund has had the opportunity to work with from municipalities of all shapes and sizes across the country. So I'll dive right in with a quick 101 of who FCM is for those of you who aren't familiar. But the Green Municipal Fund is a program of the Federation of Canadian Municipalities. So you can think of us a little bit like a national equivalent to a provincial or a territorial municipal association. But broadly speaking, FCM's mandate is to unite local governments of all sizes to shape the national, municipal, federal agenda on behalf of our member municipalities. So there's about 2,100 member municipalities representing 80% rural, remote, and northern communities, and altogether 92% of Canadians. Through our advocacy, we work on the daily to build local capacity, develop programming to help advance a diverse range of priorities, helping build a Canada that's going to be ultimately more caring, more inclusive, more environmentally sustainable, and more affordable and resilient. So our largest program within the Federation of Canadian Municipalities is the Green Municipal Fund, and that's the reason why we're here today. So the Green Municipal Fund has been around for a while. Some of you might already be around for a while. For those of you who are aware of us, we have been around since 2000, but we've really grown in recent years. So what's now a $1.6 billion program funded by the Government of Canada, so Environment, Climate Change Canada, and Infrastructure Canada. Our objective is to help support innovative environmental projects at the municipal level, really with a particular focus on helping reduce greenhouse gas emissions produced at the community level. So as you can see here, we do have a mix of funding and capacity development to help municipalities accelerate their transition to more sustainable practices and as a result, build more resilient communities. But over the course of the last 23 years, we've approved approximately 2,100 projects worth $1.45 billion and amounting to a total of 2.87 million tons of greenhouse gas avoided and counting. So 2024 has actually been a pretty busy year for us at the Green Municipal Fund. We've just done a big refresh on all of our traditional funding programs, actually. So I'm not going to linger too much on this slide, but just to say, if you've worked with the Green Municipal Fund before, we have changed our areas of focus. So over the last 20 years or so, we worked across these 5 sectors you see on the screen. So energy, transportation, waste, water, and land use. And we continue to have a strong focus on energy and transportation, but our previous funding streams for waste diversion, wastewater, stormwater, water conservation, as well as brownfields have now closed. But those focus areas remain as components of other funding programs that exist, just not so much as standalone projects. A main driver of that change is a renewed focus on oops, sorry about that. I keep clicking on the chat. A driver of that change is a focus on climate mitigation and resilience. So now across all of our funding streams, we have included a greenhouse gas reduction impact on the projects for all the projects that we'll fund going forward. And we also recognize that many municipal projects have the potential for broad community benefits and environmental benefits. So we've also embedded a focus on funding projects that have multiple benefits. So in addition to the greenhouse gas reduction targets, we're also embedding elements of seeing projects that can help also reduce potable water conservation, look at sustainable materials management, also help increase biodiversity and ecological function on the project site. And there's also a heavy emphasis on the socioeconomic benefits of projects. So a lot of environmental projects and socioeconomic benefits are often integrated. So we do want to see what principles of equity, inclusion, and anti-racism and reconciliation are going to be embedded in the project scope as well. So I'll pause just for a quick to say that we do previously, or we will continue to fund ambitious projects, and it still remains accessible to all communities and all sizes. So there's examples of some projects that really demonstrate this multi-solving approach that I'm going to present further down the presentation when we go through the detailed program offers. But more concretely, so what type of projects are we actually able to support here at the Green Municipal Fund? So with our renewed focus areas, we're now looking for projects in the 5 sectors here on the screen. So sustainable municipal buildings, so for both construction of new municipal buildings and retrofitting of existing municipal buildings. Community energy systems, for energy projects that are going to look beyond just the building level. So that includes renewable energy generation, district energy projects. Also going to be looking at organic waste to energy projects, municipal fleet electrification, and finally our last and broadest project program bucket is our net zero transformation program. So this is really for ambitious projects, exemplary projects that can generate a lot of lessons learned that are still in line with the emphasis on helping communities achieve net zero, but don't necessarily qualify under the above mentioned programs. So that brings us to our most asked about slide, is how much money can we give you for these projects? So in blue, you'll see these are available funding streams through our net zero transformation stream only. So if you're interested in undertaking an integrated community level planning exercise, there is a planning stream available under the net zero transformation program where you can apply for a grant of up to $200,000, equal to 50% of total project costs. If you have an initiative that you want to test on a short-term basis or at a smaller scale, you can apply for pilot project funding under the Net Zero Transformation Program as well, where we can fund up to a maximum of $500,000 equal to 50% of project costs. And if your project is still if we move through the green columns now, so these are the ones available across these the 4 sectors I listed previously on the other slide. If your project is still more of a vision than a project, we can now fund a business case. So we can provide a grant of up to $100,000 covering 50% of project costs through a business case where you can explore technology and financial viability of a project. If you're a little further along in the way in your project stage, we can fund your feasibility study. So you can do a deep dive into the technical and regulatory requirements, do all the stakeholder and right holder consultations required for a project, and go through detailed design of a project that will set you up for success for the capital project. We can provide a grant of up to 50% of costs, up to $200,000 for these feasibility studies. And actually a new outcome of our refreshed programs is if you are a small municipality of a population of under 10,000 or less, or a northern community, or an eligible Indigenous community, you can be eligible to receive grants of up to 80% of, so more cost coverage for your projects, still in the same maximum dollar amount, but equal to 80% instead of 50%, or even 100% if you're a first-time northern applicant or eligible Indigenous applicant. And lastly, our capital project stream. So when you're ready to hit go on the capital project, we can provide combined grants and loans. So loans of up to a maximum of 10 million and a grant for 15% of the loan amount. But there is a bonus, actually. You can obtain a 20% of the loan amount grant if you are also remediating a site as part of your project. I'm going to take a little bit more time now to illustrate the specific focus areas with some examples of projects we've previously funded. So this is a little bit of the inspiration tour I was talking about, some of the impressive work that's been undertaken by communities of all sizes under our previous offers. So I'd mentioned earlier that we have a very big focus on energy efficiency in municipal facilities. This is through our Sustainable Municipal Buildings program. This funding is focused on municipally owned facilities, and we've expanded that focus to funding the residential sector, but that's going to be presented a little bit later on. So this program here, Sustainable Municipal Buildings, is really focusing on municipal facilities to help municipal staff execute their daily services to the community, such as town hall, public works facilities, and the like. So we can fund any new construction of a carbon neutral net zero emission building, as well as retrofitting existing existing municipal facilities. We actually have an example here of a project done in County of Kings under our previous program. So they built a new engineering and public works building built through net zero energy performance. So that means they achieved deep energy efficiency, and remaining energy consumption is offset by on-site renewable energy production. And in this case, it was through rooftop solar. So to meet that net zero energy goal, the building design can incorporate energy efficiency measures such as passive design, alternate building envelope components, automated control systems, heat pumps, and a heat recovery system or solar PV panels. So new builds are also an opportunity to incorporate some of those additional environmental benefits that I was touching on earlier. We've seen some municipalities start to look at embodied carbon, for example, and sustainable construction materials. We also have an example of a project we funded in Alma, Quebec, a small municipality in Quebec, where we funded a fire hall that captured rainwater to use in its potable water exercises. So we're now kind of embedding that multi-solving approach into the projects that we're looking at. Under the specific example here of County of Kings, this is through our capital project stream. So the Green Municipal Fund was able to support the project by providing a $2.2 million loan and a $330,000 grant. We've also expanded our focus to look at community level energy systems as well. So what we mean specifically by that is, firstly, we can use recovered or renewable thermal energy in new or existing facilities. So for example, we've worked with municipalities that have studies or have put in place district energy systems, which can heat or cool a group of buildings using sources of thermal energy that don't come from our traditional sources, so electricity, natural gas, and so on. So we've seen groups of buildings that have been heated by geothermal loops, heat that is recovered by sewer systems, or by heat that's generated from industrial processes from the pulp and paper industry. For example, we have a project of the district energy project from that as well. Secondly, we can fund renewable energy projects that can power two or more buildings. So this would go beyond just a single rooftop solar installation. It really has to incorporate multiple buildings. Oh, here's another example. Also happens to be in County of King. They recently wrapped up a feasibility study looking at installing solar panels on an 18-acre site of a former landfill. So this is a great example of the multi-solving. So sustainable land use as well as generating green and electricity. So they received a $100,000 grant from the Green Municipal Fund, and they were able to look at the technical requirements of the installation, as well as the financial modeling, the power purchase agreements. And now that the study has been wrapped up, we're looking at moving forward with the construction. Still in the theme of generating green energy is our new area of focus called organic waste to energy. The word to underline here is waste. So a little bit of background, most of what goes into landfills in Canada is organic waste, still over 60%, despite the number of organic diversion programs that we've seen increased over the years. So there's a lot of potential feedstock going into landfills every year. They're saying about 15 million tons a year. And our landfills are already stuffed with organic material that is generating landfill gas. So nationally, that methane contributes a significant amount to overall greenhouse gas emissions. So in that context, this emerged as an important area of focus for our sector development team that helps design these programs. So now we can fund projects that generate biogas through anaerobic digestion processes, whether it's from municipal organic waste, including source separated organics and biosolids. And we can also fund landfill gas capture and generation of biogas, including if it's upgraded to renewable natural gas. We have a very interesting project example here, heading a little bit further east into Winnipeg. So in 2020, the city wrapped up a feasibility study looking at ways that it could capture landfill gas from its Brady Road landfill. They assessed a few scenarios, looking at both the technical and financial requirements. And based on that study, they decided to move forward with a scenario where they will use that landfill gas to heat buildings that belong to the University of Manitoba. And the Green Municipal Fund was able to support them with that feasibility study by providing a grant of $67,000. This brings us to what is our probably most self-explanatory stream, municipal fleet electrification. Through this program, we also offer funding for feasibility studies and capital projects. Through the feasibility study stream, we can fund studies that are going to assess an entire municipal fleet and create a pathway to electrification for that fleet. We also want to see, current fleet utilization analysis and how to help identify opportunities where a fleet can be downsized or right-sized. And we have an example here in St. John, New Brunswick. I'm sorry, they keep skipping ahead. St. John, New Brunswick, when they received a loan and grant combination to pilot a new on-demand service within the pilot area of a battery electric bus. So the Transit Commission replaced traditional 40-foot diesel buses with 20-foot electric buses, and then in combination with this pilot project for the on-demand service. And the project was very successful, and it's now being replicated in Milledgeville. And on the subject of innovation and pilot projects and replicability brings us to our last program available in the traditional Green Municipal Fund funding streams, which is our Net Zero Transformation Program. This is a more open-ended stream of funding that's really looking to support those highly innovative, ambitious projects with net zero emissions focus. So this is still the program where this is the only program in which we'd be able to fund plans, feasibility studies, pilot projects, and capital projects. And these types of projects need to meet two broad criteria. So the innovation component, in that they offer significant improvement over known best practices by either developing new tools, policies, models, or by testing an emerging application of an existing technology, but in a municipal context. So we wouldn't fund a proof of concept, but if we'd be able to come in and help support an existing technology being applied for the first time in the municipal context within Canada. These projects also must have a very clear greenhouse gas emission reduction impact. So what concretely do we mean by that? We have a list of examples because this is still a new program, and we have yet to have an example of a funded project under this stream here. This list is by no means exhaustive. If you have an idea that you think aligns with the broad criteria that I explained previously, we can obviously have a conversation about it. But as a few highlights, we're interested in developing retrofit techniques or funding mechanisms or incentives to accelerate net zero retrofits or new builds. We're interested in energy generation, such as microgrids or energy generation projects that include battery storage to help meet peak demand. We're also interested in waste and brownfield projects that develop new approaches, so circular economy projects and materials reuse. And that wraps up the renewed program. So I'll take a little pause there. I know that's a lot of information, and I do have more information to share, but I think that's a good time to pause. If we have any specific questions about the programs that I went to, that I just discussed, later to come will be a little bit more about the application process. But if you have any specific questions about what I just presented, feel free to let me know. And if not, I'm happy to continue on, and then we can save some questions for the end.
Feel free to pop on there with your questions, or put your hand up, or put them in the chat, whatever you're most comfortable with.
Okay, I can continue, and then we can save some questions for the end. So that's not fun. Good. I hope it's because people are engaged and excited. So we have additional funding offers in the energy sector as well. So in 2019, we launched 3 streams focused first on the residential sector, then affordable housing, and thirdly, community buildings, which include libraries, arenas, ice rinks. These programs are still accepting applications for the time being. So I'm going to highlight them for those of you who are interested. We do have specific outreach staff, that is not me, that are working specifically on these programs, and there are some different funding structures that vary. So if you do have questions, I'm going to give like a little high-level overview of the main theme behind these programs, but we're happy to connect you with a colleague of mine if you'd like to discuss a project further offline. So the Community Efficiency Financing Program, or better known as CEF. We like acronyms here at the Green Municipal Fund. With this initiative, we're looking at, we're looking at incentivizing retrofits in the low-rise residential sector. So this program supports municipalities to establish or grow financing programs that support homeowners in making energy improvements to their homes. So through the CEF program, municipalities can receive funding to help them plan or implement or scale up energy upgrade financing programs, which are delivered by the municipality. A common financing model is PACE, or Property Assessed Clean Energy, whereby homeowners receiving financial support to undertake home upgrades can pay back the cost through their property bills. Our Sustainable Affordable Housing Initiative provides support to local affordable housing providers, including municipal, not-for-profit organizations, and housing co-ops to help retrofit existing affordable housing units or construct new energy efficient buildings that emit lower greenhouse gas emissions. So a Sustainable Affordable Housing Initiative, similarly to the Net Zero Transformation Program, can help support key project stages, whether it's at the planning stages to help assist eligible housing providers get started on achieving more sustainable affordable housing initiatives, studies to help assess approaches needed to implement an eligible energy efficient pilot project or capital project, retrofit capital projects where you can complete the renovation of existing housing units to help them be more energy efficient, and new build capital projects to construct new homes that are highly energy efficient and affordable. And finally, our community buildings retrofit initiative. So it's a program that does have a little bit of overlap with our Sustainable Municipal Buildings program, which is really devoted to community building. So the Community Buildings Retrofit Initiative must be an existing community building. It could be municipally owned or nonprofit owned. And we can come in and fund feasibility studies as well as capital projects through the Community Buildings Retrofit program as well. And just launched last week is our new Growing Canada's Community Canopies program, better known as GCCC. It's now live, and we're going to be taking semi-annual calls for applications. So the Green Municipal Fund launched its GCCC initiative just last week. The new initiative is going to be supporting the planting of trees in and around communities across the country. So in partnership with Tree Canada, FCM is going to be ensuring that local governments have access to key expertise and information that helps best planting practices, tree species and site selection, as well as procurement with an eye to future climate conditions, as well as maintenance of diverse urban canopies. So eligible activities under this program will include staffing resources, planning and operation requirements for tree planting projects, for example, species and site selection, monitoring and maintenance, feasibility studies, skills development and training, as well as seedling and tree procurement. We just hired a new set of staff for this program, and they're very eager to chat with interested people. So please don't hesitate to send me an email and I'll connect you with them. And last but not least, launching a little bit later this year is our Local Leadership on Climate Adaptation program, or LLCA. So with this initiative, we plan by 2031 to invest $530 million to fund 1,400 initiatives in the climate adaptation sphere. And there's going to be 3 different tracks launched. So we're actually going to be launching the second track first very soon. We don't have an exact date to share at this stage, but you can keep an eye out on our website for that launch date for track 2. But I'll go in order of what each track is designated for. So track 1 is meant to modify practices within local governments to build climate resilience over the long term. So grants will be awarded to conduct projects that integrate climate risk considerations into municipal plans, systems, and processes. Track 2 is meant to start doing climate adaptation to reduce priority risk. So supporting projects with a value of below $1 million. And it's meant to take actions identified in risk assessments already and in climate adaptation plans as well, and go into implementation. And lastly, track 3, which is still in development, it's meant to incentivize the participation of non-traditional actors in financing adaptation projects. So there's too much work to do in the building of a more resilient Canada in the face of adverse climate events. So public funds alone won't do. We're trying to develop a program that's going to help crowd in private capital to help local governments have a more diverse range of opportunities for financing these types of initiatives. So that's quite a lot of information, but this is what our outreach staff is really here to do, and this is what we do on our day-to-day. We really speak with municipal staff, councillors, and mayors to discuss our different funding opportunities. Sometimes it could be an informal conversation where you give us a list of initiatives or hopes and dreams for the community, and we can talk to you about what opportunities are out there for you. But ultimately, these funding streams are helping to support projects that can generate lessons learned for other communities. So we have, in addition to the funding services, we also have our capacity development team. We work together to make webinars. Sometimes we'll have the capacity development team hosting webinars in the sectors that we have funding opportunities in. And we'll have someone like myself come on the call to discuss what type of funding exists, and then vice versa. So today we kind of went on the what's available for funding out there, but I encourage you to also go check out all the resources that have been developed by our capacity development team here. So events, webinars, The capacity development team also helps develop our project GMF project database, you can filter through project types, provinces, population size, sectors, to see successful projects that we've previously funded to help inspire yours. I'm going to flip back to this slide quickly just so that you can be reminded that the conversation obviously doesn't end here today. I was, giving you information, but I would love to have a conversation with you if you have questions at another time. I believe I'll be able to send this PowerPoint over to you so you can go through all the information and reach out to me when it works for you. Otherwise, I'd be happy to, like I said, connect you with our other staff that are amazing at what they do and very knowledgeable in the funding that could be available for your project. And just a quick plug for our FCM annual conference happening in June in Calgary this year. I'm not sure if anyone on the call here plans to attend, but if so, go up to us at the Green Municipal Fund booth and say hello, talk about your projects. I myself won't be there, but I'll have one of my amazing colleagues operating the booth, so they'd be happy to have a chat with you. And if you'd like more information about upcoming launching of new programs, such as the Local Leadership for Climate Adaptation program, or understand any other events or webinars that are happening, you can sign up for our newsletter. So FCM Connect, their link posted on the screen here. We'll visit our website. You can email the general information email here at gmfinfo@fcm.ca, but I'll also be providing my personal email as well if you have specific projects that you'd like to talk about. So that wraps it up. I think we left a nice amount of time for discussion and questions, if any. I hope that was clear. Again, I know that's lots of information to take in, but as I said, this is what we do every day. So happy to have a conversation with you one-on-one if that works better for you.
Thank you so much, Carly. That was absolutely fantastic. And yeah, Carly, as she said, you can reach out to her anytime. She's really great to talk to about all the funding opportunities. Come to her with your projects. What is a typical interest rate for and term duration on FCM loans?
The typical interest rate, and what was the second part?
And the term duration.
Okay, so typically it's 10 to 20-year terms. The interest rates are established on an average of a snapshot in time. So what we do, it's low interest rates comparable to market rates, and we work with the applicant to make sure that it works for them before signing a contract for a capital project application or an approved project. And combined with the grant portion that helps offset that interest rate quite a bit. So yeah, we're quite competitive with traditional borrowing institutions. If you have a specific project in mind as well, we do offer a service where you can connect with an outreach staff, and we can have a presentation given by our lending unit to see what the loan terms could look like in the context of your project as well. And I would leave that to the experts to go into further detail about that. But generally speaking, that's kind of what you're looking at in terms of the interest rates.
Good to know. Thank you. Does that answer your question, Liam?
That does. Thank you.
I know some of you must have questions. I know a lot of municipalities have building projects for their municipal administration buildings.
Yes, the Sustainable Municipal Buildings program has been quite popular since we launched it. So we have lots of eager applicants in that stream. But yeah, and I know a lot of the times when we give presentations with so many different funding opportunities, it can be a little bit like, whoa, where do we start? So don't hesitate if you want to reach out to me privately after you've had time to kind of process the information. That's also okay.
Andy, go ahead with your question.
Thanks. I thought it'd be easier than texting it. I guess I'm a municipal councillor in Nova Scotia, in rural Nova Scotia, and I attended an FCM in Vancouver in 2016, and Green Municipal Fund had a staff, they had an event there trying to figure out how to grow the fund and the number of the reach of the fund, I guess. And the
Mhm.
challenge that we have in the smaller rural municipalities, we have a municipality of 20,000 people, is most of our community buildings aren't owned by the municipality.
Okay,
They are like community rinks owned by a nonprofit community association, and community halls that are just they could be converted one-room schoolhouses, that sort of thing, and fire departments is the other thing. And they were having a challenge getting the smaller areas in a lot. There was not a lot of uptake in Atlantic Canada at that point. This is probably 8 years ago. Is it better now? Did you open your programs up to accommodate smaller communities? I guess that's my first question.
Mhm.
And I got a project I want to talk to somebody about. So
Amazing.
if somebody could send me a email with the contact information, I guess I can do that. But are you getting more uptake from smaller communities? Because even the one in Kings County that you mentioned there, it's like a $2 million project. And a lot of the communities, they don't need 2 million bucks. Well, it'd be nice to have, right? But anyways, I'm
Yeah.
just curious if you can explain how you've grown the reach of this.
Well, I think 2016, if that was the year that you're referring to. So 2019, we launched the community building retrofit program, and that program is open to buildings that are not owned by the municipality. So if you are looking to do retrofit work on community buildings, whether they're owned by a nonprofit or not, you'd be eligible to apply for renovating those community facilities through the community building retrofit program. So I can certainly send you some information about that. If you have many buildings that you want to look at helping, extend their life cycle and reduce their greenhouse gas emissions impact, you can also access feasibility study funding that's going to look at a portfolio of those buildings. So incorporating many buildings under one kind of comprehensive feasibility study. So those would be eligible buildings to answer that part of the question. And then in terms of, how we've tried to help reach out to smaller municipalities, there is that the percent coverage that we've increased since our previous funding. So now the threshold is populations of under 10,000. So I know that doesn't apply to your community, but so populations of under 10,000 can access now, if they've never applied to the Green Municipal Fund, they can access 100% coverage for feasibility studies and 80% coverage for municipalities that have already accessed our funding that are under 10,000 to conduct these types of feasibility studies. But we're still, open to continuing to take feedback. The outreach team is always there to help provide as much assistance as possible. And in terms of the application processes as well, we've developed lots of tools and guides to help municipalities with, lower capacity who are wearing many, many hats, kind of understand what our processes look like to help them undertake those ambitious projects. But we've seen, I've presented the examples from County of King, but that's just one of hundreds of examples of projects that we've funded that I can send your way as well for some more inspiration.
I guess I have a project, but it sort of fits outside those parameters that you talk about because of the size of the area that I'm trying to reach. And it's not necessarily driven at the municipal level. It's at the community level.
Okay.
So does the money have to flow through a municipality? Is that how that would work?
So municipalities are by default eligible applicants, but municipal partners are also eligible applicants. So a private entity that's working in partnership with a municipality, let's say if it's on a larger scale community energy system project, you can give me a specific example, your specific example, but we see this a lot in the renewable and electricity generation projects where it'll be a private entity that's working in partnership with a community on a specific project. So that's also a way forward to. If you'd like to access funding where you wouldn't be the lead applicant, but there need to be a strong municipal partnership, obviously, that's also a way to access the funding too.
I'd like to have a conversation at some point with somebody if that's possible. That'd be great.
Yeah,
For
of course.
If you want to pop your email in the chat, Andy, I
Yeah.
will connect you with Carly right after this call.
Okay, perfect. Thanks.
Yeah, you can send me a quick email about your project description. It might be with me that you'd be connected with, but if it's a project that's outside of my sector, I'll just connect you with someone who will be able to help you out.
And I'll try to be as succinct as possible. I'm working with a group of 21 buildings, so
Oh,
it's,
wow.
it's pretty impressive. So anyway,
Looking forward to hearing it.
Yeah, okay.
Awesome. It's good to hear that you're looking to do such a big project. Thanks, Carly, for answering those questions. We do have a question here. Are there any deadlines associated with these funding opportunities? Or are they open until all allocated funds are used?
Depends on the program. So our traditional program it's a permanent endowment. So those are, we accept applications on a rolling basis. So there's no deadlines to apply. How it works across all programs is that we have a pre-application stage and a full application stage. So a pre-application is kind of a high-level description of the project, what your anticipated funding request would be. We want to see what the potential greenhouse gas emission reductions would be at a high level before you go in and submit a full application. So there's that pre-application stage that's going to assess eligibility. Once you get access to the full application forms, you prepare those forms at your own pace, and there's no specific deadline to submitting that application, unless we're going through a revision period. So these the last time we revised our traditional funding programs was in 2015, I believe. So, sometimes they phase out every 7 years or so, but otherwise no specific deadlines in that program. Our initiatives that were launched in 2019, so the Sustainable Affordable Housing Program, the Community Efficiency Financing Program, as well as the Community Building Retrofit Program, are a 7-year program that might receive top up. We're not sure yet. So right now we're still accepting applications under those streams until at least 2026. And then for the newly launched program for growing Canada's community canopies, bit of a tongue twister. Their structure of intake for applications are in intervals. So I would have to connect you with the outreach staff on that, because I believe that there are deadlines to apply for those. It's going to be like semi-annual intake periods for that stream of funding. So to answer your question, generally speaking, it varies, but for the most part, we accept applications on a rolling basis outside of the new tree program.
Perfect. Thank you. The next question is, are there any funding streams available for accessibility upgrades on municipal buildings? This is mandated by the province before 2030.
So it would definitely be an eligible cost in a project for a sustainable municipal buildings retrofit project. So it would still have to encompass the energy performance upgrades to the building and meet those targets as well in terms of reducing the building's operating GHG emissions. But we also want to see that would be something that we would consider a multi-solving component to the building. So increasing its accessibility to all members of the community. But as a standalone initiative, it wouldn't be eligible. It would really need to be all encompassing with the greenhouse gas emission reductions as well.
Yeah, that's really interesting. That's part of the whole multi-solving.
Exactly. Yeah.
The next question is, well, can I be put in touch with someone regarding the retrofit of a town facility that regarding HVAC and a former landfill site being capped and regenerated into a park-like setting. So would I be connecting them with you as well? Or?
Yeah, you can connect them with me. In terms of the retrofit of the town hall, that's Sustainable Municipal Buildings Program. We can talk about that a little bit further together. And then the second part was the
Landfill to park.
landfill to park. So we've had these types of inquiries before. If the landfill would involve, you know, an innovative, potentially greenhouse gas emission reducing technique to remediate the site and get it back into productive use again through a park that can also maybe address potential climate change risks. Yes, so it's a no and a yes at the same time. We'd have to talk a little bit further about the project idea and see how it could potentially fit under the different streams. But like I said, brownfield remediation projects as a standalone project are no longer something that we fund unless it's part of some type of innovative, ambitious undertaking where there's a new kind of approach to remediation and, you know, perhaps the climate resilience embedded in the park design as well. So a good question, but let's talk a little bit further about it after.
Could they be eligible for planting trees maybe on that landfill site to help?
For sure. Yeah, that would be, yeah. You can definitely get in touch with our GCCC staff to see if that would be, yeah, I think so. So, whoever wrote that, I'm happy to take your email and just connect you directly with well, it'll be with myself and the staff on the GCCC team, and we can maybe hop on a call and you know, brainstorm together about how that could look.
Perfect. Thank you. So yeah, Ken, if you just want to pop your email in the chat, I'll connect you with Carly right after this call. And Liam Cook has a question. Is there an FCM definition of deep energy retrofit, either percent of GHG or energy reductions?
Yes. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen here. So if you go to the landing page of our Sustainable Municipal Buildings program, I'm going to use the Sustainable Municipal Buildings program as the example here because it can vary with the if you're looking at the community building program. But so under the Sustainable Municipal Buildings program, we have the study funding as well as the capital project funding for retrofitting municipal buildings. So for the study funding, what we offer here is the development of a retrofit pathway for the municipal building to achieve net zero. You can look at one building or you can look at many buildings and establish a pathway to reducing greenhouse gas emissions. And on that landing page here, you know what? I'm just going to pop it directly in the chat for you because that's going to be a really handy link if you want to get more information. There you go. And I just scroll down to what your project needs to achieve. And you'll see the retrofit pathways and a drop down that you can click on to see what the study would have to look at. So you would look at in a timeline of 10 years an introductory energy conservation. So passive strategies, minor envelope improvements, and energy demand conservation measures. And then the second phase, which would be a partial fuel switch to achieve 50% reduction in greenhouse gas emissions from the current baseline of the building, where you would do capital equipment replacement and fuel switching while maintaining, you can maintain backup fossil fuel systems for emergencies and possible addition of renewable energy. And then we have the phase 3, which would be the deep energy retrofit and a complete conversion to non-fossil fuel energy sources in alignment with energy use intensity and thermal energy demand intensity targets as defined by the Canada Green Building Council's zero carbon standard. So yeah, lots of very handy details on the retrofit pathway on the website link that I shared with you.
Awesome. Liam provided us with a thumbs up. You're very thorough and we appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Do we have any other questions? We have a few minutes left. Not yet. Thank you so much, Carly. We really appreciate it. And I hope we can get some projects rolling out of this call. Ken and Andy, I have your emails up here. I will connect you right away. I hope
I'll
everyone.
just pop my email in the chat as well, so people can copy it and reach out to me whenever they like. And thank you, Lucy, for organizing this. It's been a pleasure, and thank you for all the great questions. I look forward to getting in touch with some of you.
Thank you so much. Have a great day, everyone.
Take care. Bye.